but this will kind of give you a little bit of an idea how my daddy's mind works. In the foothills of North Dakota, just outside of town, a preacher was sent. He put up a tent, threw sawdust on the ground. He laid some boards upon some blocks, and those were to be his pews, and from the bottom of a barrel turned upside down is where he'd deliver the news. Now, the first night of the meeting, the crowd was rather small, just one old Indian by the name of Joe, but he stayed to hear it all. That preacher must have preached for a solid hour, but what intrigued Joe the most was the place where he read from the book of Acts about tongues and the Holy Ghost. When he finished, Joe came forward with a beautiful knife and sheath. He said, God, if you give Joe Holy Ghost, he gives you knife to keep. Well, needless to say, nothing happened. But the next night, the number was 10. And when the preacher gave the altar call, here came old Joe again. This time, he had a handmade blanket and a beautiful knife and sheath. He said, God, if you give Joe Holy Ghost, he give you blanket and knife to keep. Well, needless to say, nothing happened, and old Joe went away with a frown. But the next evening, in front of 36 people, old Indian Joe came down. Now this time, he had a tomahawk, a bow and arrow, a pipe, a handmade blanket, and a beautiful knife and sheath. He said, God, if you give Joe Holy Ghost, he gives you all this to keep. Well, needless to say, nothing happened, and old Joe packed up all of his goods, and they heard him mumbling. Joe tried to trade fair as he disappeared into the woods. Now their tent was filled to capacity the next evening to the preacher's delight, but what he didn't know was they came to see Joe to see if the price was right. And right down through the middle of that tent came a pinto pony, a tomahawk, a bow and arrow, a pipe, a handmade blanket, and a beautiful knife and sheath. He said, God, if you give Joe Holy Ghost, he give you all this to keep. Well, needless to say, nothing happened, but old Joe's head began to nod. And the tears, they streamed down his leather face as he raised his hands to God. And he said, God, Joe always been a very good trader. And now Joe's hair is white like snow. And if you'll give Joe Holy Ghost, Joe will give you Joe. Needless to say, the Holy Ghost fell and Joe was quickly filled. God let him keep the pinto pony, the tomahawk, the bow and arrow, the knife, and the blanket to keep out the chill. But Joe didn't want that old pipe, and neither did God. So he threw it as far as he could throw. Now the people in the foothills of North Dakota, they all still remember the trade between God and Indian Joe.